Some breaking news at Derby County as David Clowes is in talks with potential investors over an 80% sale of Derby County Football Club. David Clowes took over Derby County back in 2022 at the end of the administration period where he fronted the cash to buy Derby County administration and keep them going ahead of a League One season. Now David Clowes has been in charge for around about 2.5 years and has had masses of success over the course of that period with gaining promotion from League One to the Championship just a few months ago. But now it looks as if David Clowes is willing to allow investors to come into the club, which does not come as a surprise to anybody who's been keeping up to date with everything at Derby County. It's something which David Clowes has spoken about pretty much for the entire time he's been here. In this video, we're going to go through everything from who these interested parties could be to my personal opinions on the potential takeover. But before we do that, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. We're getting really close to 1.3 thousand subscribers, and I'd really appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button and turn on that notification bell to help us hit that target. Make sure you smash that like button as well and let me know your thoughts down in the comments of this potential takeover for Derby County. Now we head on over to Twitter to see a tweet from John Percy on the Telegraph, which states DCFC in talks with potential investors as owner David Clowes aims to boost club spending power in the Championship. Clowes is open to selling up to 80% of his shareholding, but expects to remain as chairman if any deal is agreed. Talks are ongoing. Now, let's get back. Now, let's talk about it. Now, I went through the article from John Percy and no deal seems to be agreed or anywhere close to being agreed as of right now, but it looks as if that is a potential over the course of probably the next 12 months. We know how long these takeover deals can take. Obviously, it can be a lot more difficult depending on certain things. Now, I put a tweet out in response to somebody who basically tweeted saying, why would anybody want to buy Derby? And I think anybody who knows the actual facts about Derby County right now would be massively interested in buying the club. We're a Championship club who, debt-free, have a massive fan base. There's over 20,000 season ticket holders. I think we're averaging something like 28,000 in our home games at the moment. We've got a massive away following. We are a big club. And in the hands of the right owner, the right person, or the right ownership group, we are a sleeping giant. We have history, and that's something which nobody can take away from you. And in my opinion, having history is amazing for these types of deals, these investment deals and takeovers. Now, obviously, while Derby were in League One, it's not a lucrative deal because we're a massive club that for David Clowes to even recoup half of his money, it's going to be very, very expensive, and it's going to be virtually impossible to recoup that money down in League One. Now, as stated by John Percy, he wants to keep around 20% of his shareholding, which, to be fair, does not surprise me. He's always said since he took over that he'd like to stay involved, whatever happens with investors and things like that. Just so if the worst does happen, he could potentially step in again now. And it also gives him an opportunity to keep an eye on what's going on so that we don't end up in that position again. Now, there has been a few talks over the course of probably the last 6 months about potential American investors coming to Derby County. There's been a fair few what I call in the know people over on Twitter, the forums and things like that, talking about potential American investors. Now, the truth behind that is, who knows? We don't know. Nobody really knows because nothing has been confirmed publicly. Now, we can all speculate, but realistically, we don't actually know. And if you look through the John Percy article, which is behind a paywall, but if you're on iPhone, click on the article and click reader straight away and you'll be able to see it all. It's one of those for me where we're in talks with several parties. David Clowes has several parties in the corner, essentially, wanting to potentially invest or buy into the club. And I personally believe this is a massive deal for Derby County. I think I said it during the transfer window, during last season's review video, which I did, that I think spending-wise, we're never going to be able to compete with David Clowes as owner. And that's no slight on David Clowes. Obviously, he's a very, very rich man, much richer than I will probably ever be, much richer than a lot of you will probably ever be. And it's just one of those things where in football, it's not good enough to just be rich. You've got to be absolutely stinking rich. And you look at some of the owners in this division now, billionaires, and David Clowes isn't anywhere near that, really, from what I'm aware. And it's one of those for me where if we do want to try and push to the upper echelons of the division, yes, you can do it on a budget, but you do need to spend money. You have to have money to spend. And if we look back at Derby's transfer spend from this transfer window, we haven't spent any more than what we bought in with sell-on fees, transfer fees and things like that. And it's been that way over the course of the last 3 years. Now, obviously, the first year was under restrictions. We weren't allowed to spend. Second year, which was obviously last season, we were allowed to spend, but we didn't really have a great deal of money, and we had to do it through a loan fee type system. And then obviously heading into this year, I think we've spent about £3 million. I said if we spent £5 million, I'd be buzzing, and that obviously didn't happen. We spent about £3 million, bringing in Zetterstrom, Kenzo, Ibu Adams. Who else did we pay for? That's it for all we paid for, isn't it? So it's one of those for me where we certainly do need a bit of extra spending power. Now, when talking about David Clowes and staying on as chairman, I think that's an amazing idea, because he's rebuilt the club, and I think it's important that he keeps hold of some decision-making capacity and some ability to help run the club on a day-to-day basis. Maybe not as hands-on as he is now, but then I know that he does leave a lot to other people to keep him up to date with, like the likes of Stephen Pearce. You look at the Sporting Intelligence Unit, things like that, and they're all things which David Clowes sort of like pushes responsibility, which I think is the right thing to do as an owner. He's not a football manager, he's not a coach, he's not an analyst, he's not an ex-player or anything like that. So sort of knowing the systems for him isn't necessarily there. Maybe now he understands the systems a lot more than when he came in on day one, but certainly not to extent of the people that are in charge of those systems. So it's very important for me that whatever owner does come in certainly doesn't try and do what Mel Morris did or anything like that. And it's certainly important for me that Derby County stay on a strong footing. Obviously, I don't want to be doing what we did under Mel Morris, where we get ourselves into 80-90 million pounds of debt at one point. And I do think that under the right ownership we could fly, because with the right amount of backing, anybody will want to join Derby County. Like, we're not a small club. We have Premier League facilities, we have a Premier League fan base. Really, we've got the history of playing in the Premier League and things like that. And for me, it's absolutely imperative that whoever does come into Derby County doesn't come in and change everything. We've got a system set up here, and I do know that when ownership changes, sometimes you obviously get the management changes and things like that. Now, I'm not saying that that's necessarily a bad thing. I'm not saying it's a good thing, but we've obviously seen how that worked out for Birmingham City last year when their new owners came in, got rid of John Eustace, brought in Wayne Rooney. I think they went through 5 or 6 managers last year, and ultimately they got relegated. Yes, they've now gone on to spend 20-30 million in League One, but you'd rather be in the Championship. And I think if you ask their fans, would you rather be in the Championship or have gone through the 6 managers, they'll all have said we'd rather stay in the Championship. So it's one of those for me where I certainly do believe that Derby County are in a position to push on to the next level. You look at some of the players coming through the academy: Cruz Allen, Kai Robinson, Niall McAndrew, Jack Thompson. We've got another goalkeeper who's been called up to England in Charlie Hardy. And we've got a massive development pathway. Obviously, I didn't even mention Dejon Brown there, or Darren Robinson, Ben Radcliffe, who scored his first goal for Gateshead last night. And it's one of those for me where we're certainly in that sort of position where we can move forward and we can go and push for the top end of the division. But we've got to do it right. We've got to do it responsibly. We can't go back to how we were under Mel Morris, where we spend 15 million on deadline day because Will Hughes and Craig Bryson got injured. We can't do those things again. We've got to do things right. We've got to find the bargains, like a Kenzo Holdmine, like a Jakub Zetterstrom. And that's personally, in my opinion, our way forward, is to stick with them cheap, low risk, high reward deals, essentially. And I think that will take us to brand new levels. So it's obviously one of those things that's going to be a massive talking point now over the course of the next few weeks. And obviously, I'll talk about it a little bit more in my preview video for Derby County versus Norwich this weekend. There'll obviously be a match day vlog out this weekend as well. And it's one of those for me where I certainly think Derby County are in a perfect position. We're debt-free, massive fan base, Premier League facilities. What is there not to want about Derby County? Now, before I let you guys go, make sure you stay tuned to the channel by hitting that subscribe button and turning on that notification bell. My League One preview video will be out later today. My Championship preview video will be out tomorrow evening, so make sure you go and check them out. There'll also be a Derby County versus Norwich preview out tomorrow morning, so make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on that notification bell. Let me know your thoughts about any potential takeovers or investors coming into Derby County. I personally think it couldn't get any better. I think it's a wonderful idea. I think it's the perfect route we need to go down. It helps David Clowes recoup some money, and it pushes us in the right direction of building for a more sustainable future and staying in the Championship and potentially pushing on further. So if you have not done so already, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Check out the memberships. We will be bringing live streams to the channel over the course of probably the next month or so. So make sure you're here for that. I'll have a video talking all about the future of the channel over the course of probably the next few days. It might come out on Friday or maybe Sunday. So make sure you stay tuned for that, and I'll see you in my next video. Make sure to go and find me on TikTok, pictured here, and Twitter, pictured here. These are the places where I'll keep you all up to date with all my upcoming videos and my thoughts and feelings around the Formula 1 and football week.